We all want our kids to be confident, happy readers. But what happens when the school thinks your child might have some characteristics of dyslexia? It can feel a little overwhelming, right? Well, today we're going to demystify the whole thing. We're going to walk through the school's official screening process for the 2025-2026 school year, so you know exactly what's happening every step of the way.
Okay, first things first, let's put a really important date on the calendar, November 9th, 2025. This is a big one. The state actually requires that all initial dyslexia screenings be completed by this day. The whole idea is to catch any student who might need a little extra help and to do it fast, within the first 90 days of school. So here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we'll talk about what this screening even is. Then we'll dive into the first step, which is the universal screener for all students. After that, we'll unpack what it means to be labeled at risk, we'll cover the whole permission process, look at the kind of support that's available, and wrap up with your role in all of this, which is, of course, super important.
Okay, so what is dyslexia screening, really? The number one thing to know is that this is not a diagnosis. It's more like a checkup. It's a supportive, proactive first look to see how your child's reading skills are developing and to figure out who might need a little boost. The whole process kicks off with something called a universal screener. Just like it sounds, it's for everyone. It's a quick assessment given to all students from kindergarten through second grade, and any older kids who are new to the district. The goal is simple. Let's find out early who could benefit from some extra reading support. All right, so that universal screener, that's really the first big step in the whole process. And like we said, it all happens right at the beginning of the school year, so that if help is needed, it can start as soon as possible. So what are they actually using for this? Well, the main tool is called Acadians. You'll probably hear this name a lot. It's a really well-respected assessment that gives teachers a quick but very reliable picture of a student's early literacy skills. So what's Acadians actually looking for? Well, it's pretty smart. It changes depending on the grade. For our little kindergartners, it's all about basics, like recognizing the first sound in a word and just naming letters quickly. Then in first grade, it gets a bit more complex. They'll look at breaking words into individual sounds and something called nonsense word fluency. That's just a fancy way of seeing if a kid can sound out a word they've never seen before. By second grade, they're looking at oral reading fluency, which measures how smoothly and accurately a child can read a real passage.
Okay, so when is all this happening? Let's look at the key dates for this year. You can see the main screening window is mostly in August and September. If any extra assessments are needed, those happen through early October. And the bottom line for you is that by October 9th, the schools will have the parent reports all ready to go.
All right, so the tests are done, the data is in. Now what? This next phase is all about making sense of those results to see if any students might be considered at risk for having characteristics of dyslexia. And this is really, really important. A decision is never made based on just one test score. It's always a combination of two things. On one hand, you have the hard data from the Acadian screener. And on the other, you have the teacher's professional judgment, what they're seeing in the classroom every day, how your child is doing on their work, all of that good stuff. In fact, the school's official guidance puts a huge emphasis on this. It literally tells teachers to use their expertise, saying that their judgment is what determines if more testing or support is needed. It's a great reminder that there's a real human element at the heart of this process.
Okay, so let's say a student is flagged as potentially needing some extra support. What happens next? Well, this is where clear communication and your permission become absolutely key. A whole new part of the process kicks in. It's a really clear three-step process. First, the school reaches out and notifies you about the results. Second, you'll get a formal permission letter sent home asking if it's okay to do a more in-depth Level 1 screening. And third, and this is the big one, only after you sign and send that back does the school do anything else. And they couldn't be more clear about this. The rule is, and I'm quoting here, you cannot move forward with the Level 1 screener without parent permission. Bottom line, you are in the driver's seat. Nothing moves forward without your consent.
So let's imagine the screening points to a need, and you've given your permission. What's the whole point of all this? Getting your child the right kind of support. In the education world, these are called interventions, and they're the real goal here. And we're not just talking about a little extra reading time. The school uses some really powerful specialized programs that are proven to work. You might hear names like SPIRE or Orton-Gillingham. These are highly structured, multi-sensory approaches that have a fantastic track record with struggling readers. So who gets to use these great programs? Well, of course, kids who are officially identified as at risk can get the support. But, and this is so important, any student who is struggling with reading can be included in a support group if their teacher recommends it. You do not need that formal at-risk label to get help, which makes the whole system really flexible and focused on a child's needs. Okay, we've walked through the whole thing from start to finish, so let's wrap up with the most important piece of the puzzle, your role as a parent, and what you really need to remember. So, just to recap, here are the big things to keep in your back pocket. First, expect to hear about your child's results around October 9th. Second, remember your teacher's professional eye is a huge part of this. Third, your written permission is absolutely required for that next level of screening. Fourth, and this is great news, support is available for any kid who's struggling. And finally, the most important one, if you ever have any questions or concerns, talk to your child's teacher. They're your _1 partner in all of this. You know, when you strip it all away, the tests, the data, the forms, what you're left with is a process designed to build a partnership between you and the school, all focused on your child. It isn't about finding a problem, it's about working together to find a solution. Which really leaves us with the most important question of all. How can we, as parents and teachers, team up to give every single reader the support they need to succeed?